All right, welcome back to the channel. This is the second part of the sixth submission. We've got 13 slabs to go through. We've just finished doing a run through the first 12. Been a bit of a strange submission, a bit frustrating. We haven't had a 9.8 yet from 12 books, and I definitely expected a few at this stage of the submission process. So if you're new here, welcome. If you're coming back, thank you. And make sure you like and subscribe. I'd love to get more of this content out to you guys. So today what we're going to do is what I always do, and that's go through the slabs one by one, tell you what I've done with it, telling you how much it cost me, anything interesting I worked on with it, and what my grade expectation was, and then we'll do the reveal and show you what we got. There will be a running total of the cost of the submission of the book and any profit or loss on that book, and a running total for that profit or loss across the whole submission. So we've got 13 to go through today, so let's get started. First one up is Spawn number 12, newsstand edition. Quite a rare one to find in high grade, especially this one with the black cover. So I got this one for $15. It looked immaculate on the front. You know, usually just the slightest thick shows on the front cover, and you know, the black is just so unforgiving. So on the back it had a crunch, and I thought, oh, I could probably reduce that a little bit. In a 9.8, this book in a newsstand is quite valuable, but I didn't think it was going to get close to 9.8. So yeah, I worked it down, and I thought it was going to come down to about a 9.2 because it creased. And I've got some pictures, I'll put them up of the crease. Cleaned and pressed it, and I was just curious to see how it would be judged. So yeah, sent to CGC expecting 9.2 and 9.4. So that's a nice little bump up from what I was expecting, and probably pretty right for the grade of the book. Yeah, so you can see on the bottom corner here, there's a crunch and there's a bit of damage that's been repaired. So yeah, off to a decent start with this part of the submission. Next up, we've got Spider-Man number 6, newsstand edition from a 1991 McFarlane run. I do like to pick these up if I find them in high grade, in newsstand especially. You know, they're a decent book, and I just love working on McFarlane books. So picked this one up for $27. I might have paid a little bit too much for that one, but it looked in great condition. There was a bit of a finger band. I didn't think it was going to crease, and as the other, if you've seen a previous submission of mine where I had a number 6 newsstand, there is a little mark on the spine there, a little black, and it's actually a standard manufacturing defect. So I left this one alone because the other one had it as well and came back at 9.8. Yeah, I thought it would come back as a 9.8 as well. So I sent it to CGC, expecting 9.8, and got our first 9.8 for the submission. So what a relief. Oh, all right. Hopefully things are turning around. Yeah, so great to have that one in 9.8 again, newsstand edition. Can't go wrong with a Spider-Man Goblin cover. Next up, we're into the X-Men. So 142, the first official Uncanny X-Men. I'm not sure if I've had this one on the show before. Anyway, yeah, second part of Days of Future Past, and a great cover, a very iconic book, iconic series. So I paid, all right, so yeah, I paid $94 for this because it looked amazing. It looked perfect. And I received it, and it needed a bit of a clean and a press. There are a couple of light ticks on the back of the cover, but I thought it was going to be a 9.6 with a solid chance of 9.8 until I pressed it. Actually, I must have been tired and it slipped out of my hand, pulling it out of the press. It's the first and only time this has happened. And actually scuffed the front cover. Just a little scuff, but I was so disappointed. You know, there's a little scuff across there in the dark. And I was just like, I've got to push ahead. It cost me $94 and try and recoup it. I was expecting to come back at 9.2. Got it looking amazing otherwise, as you can see. Sent a CGC expecting 9.2. And received a 9.6. So this is the strange thing about this submission so far. Everything's been spine stress lines, 9.6, 9.4, and a bit inconsistent. Let's have a look at the greater notes. Bend on the bottom of the back cover. Well, I doubt it, honestly. Certainly not one I put in and not one I can see. But there is a scuff on the front cover. And it's been missed. And like, I'm grateful for the 9.6, but I can see it clear as day. So this is a really weird grader. I don't know who it is. I haven't had them before, and I certainly hope I don't have them again. Like, it's a much higher grade on that book, but the others, there were 9/8 that weren't. So it feels like a lazy grader. It's like, I'll just chuck spine stress lines on. It's the end of the day. I'm done. So let's move on to X-Men 199. Beautiful Phoenix cover, Born Again, and got this one for $23. Looked amazing, cleaned up really well, and I thought it would come back as a 9.8. There's nothing wrong with it that I could tell. It looked beautiful, so I submitted expecting 9.8. 9.6. So we're back, and let's check the grader notes, shall we? Let's check the grader notes. Spine stress lines to the spine. You've got to, there is nothing there, and if there is, it wasn't there when I sent it. That's really frustrating. So, I mean, I'd say that's got a little bend at the bottom, if anything, and there was no little bend there. So, yep. This is proving to be a very frustrating submission so far. Moving on, X-Men 204 Newsstand Edition, the Great Nightcrawler cover. Yeah, I spent $12 on this, and I thought it had a couple of negligible ticks. And there was a small crease on the back cover on the bottom left corner from the overhang, I thought. No, I might show it later. It was tiny, but I did not think it was going to beat 9.6, but there was a chance to worth try it. So I sent a CGC expecting 9.6. I got 9.6. Because of that crease is the reason I was thinking. Let's have a look at the notes, shall we? Spine stress lines to the spine. So, and there are a couple there, and I didn't note them in my notes. So, I'm not sure what's going on today. Moving on. X-Men 205, Newsstand Edition. All right, let's have a look at this one. All right, so this had a crunch on the back cover on the top right, which left a faint line and could be seen as a crease or a tick. A couple of other ticks on the book as well, and I thought 9.6 would be on the cards, but it could go as low as 9.2 because of that. Sent to CGC expecting 9.2 to 9.6, a fair range. I received 9.2, of course, on the lower end. So they've had a look at this one, and surely it's not spine stress lines. All right, so there's a crease on the top of the front cover, apparently. Okay. I mean, I can see it on the back. Yeah, really weird one. Moving on to X-Men 268, Direct Edition. All right, what are we expecting here? What's on the cards? I fixed it up, and there was a poly band in the middle, which is a bit weird, and a small indent on the back cover, on the spine in the middle. It's the only issue with it. I thought it was perfect except for that. I remember, and I will show it once I reveal the grade. I was expecting 9.6 to 9.8, depending how that little indent on the back cover was seen. Set a CGC expecting 9.6 to 9.8, received a 9.6. So, let's have a look at the grader notes. Spine stress lines to the spine. Amazing, there's nothing there. However, there is an indent on the back cover there. You can see a little white line goes there, where my finger is. So that wasn't noted. I would have treated that as a small crease, and maybe a 9.4, 9.6 generously. Moving on to the next X-Men, 274. newsstand edition. I've had this on 9.8 on the show before. This one came in, don't think it looked as good condition, which is a shame because it cost me $38. Had negligible ticks and maybe the slightest micro crease on the front cover on the top right corner. Yeah. And some stubborn bends. And I thought the corner was going to hold it back along with the ticks. And I was expecting 9.6. 9.4 to 9.6, I think is fair with a little micro crease. CGC, 9.4. And I think here they've actually graded it correctly, which would be, maybe it was a different grader. So they've quoted spine stress lines to the spine and a crease on the right top of the front cover, which is spot on. I mean, it's the tiniest crease. You'll see if it's visible. But it is there, and I noted it. So yeah, and spine ticks. Okay. So moving on, X-Men 209 newsstand edition. Love my newsstands. So paid $25 for this from an online seller. Negligible ticks, and it had a bit of light tanning on the back, which I removed, and you know the white cover, it becomes very obvious. I thought it came up really well, and there were some small marks on the back cover which I couldn't clean off. I wasn't sure what it was, but I was expecting it to come back 9.8. So I sent a CGC. It looked immaculate when I sent it, and they said 9.6. Let's have a look at the grader notes. Spine stress lines to the spine. And you know what? There are a couple there. And I might refer back to my photos and see, because it's a bit weird. What did I say for this one? There was small marks on the back cover I couldn't clean off. I'm not even sure what I'm referring to here. Looks great. All right. I think it's just been one of those submissions, and just have to cop it on the chin. Moving on to Web of Spider-Man #1. Love this cover. Yeah, love this cover. So got this for $32 from one online seller, and I worked out how it had a lot of fingerprints. It had a lot of bends in it, dirt. I removed some gunk off the back. I did some whitening just to remove some stuff off it. I really worked this book a fair bit. I thought it had a couple of scratches. In fact, I know it does. There are a couple of scratches on the back cover on the white, which I thought would limit it to a 9. As much as I worked the rest of the book really well, and it looks great, I thought those scratches are going to hold it back to a 9. So, Center CGC expecting a 9, 9.6. So, this grader's worked in my favor in this one, and let's check the grader notes. Spine stress lines to the spine. So this is another one like the X-Men 142. Because yeah, of course the spine stress lines. I was expecting 9.0, and I worked that book down so much. And let's look at the back cover. Look, I can't quite see them in this because it's through the slab and through the Mylar insert. But I do have a picture, and I'll put it up because I know I took it specifically when I was sending it off to CGC. So, yeah. I mean, it's great to get a 9.6 on that book when I was expecting a 9, right? Because we've had a few others that have been 9.6 when I was expecting 9.8. But same as the X-Men, it's not right. It's not the right grade, and that's frustrating. It feels lazy. So, moving on to Wolverine #1, Direct Edition, the 1988 version. Volume 2, technically, I suppose. Yes, I paid $75 for this one because it looked great. Trusted seller. Got it, and I thought there are a few ticks. They're on the minor side rather than negligible, so I thought it was definitely going to impact it. It also had a slight softness on the bottom right corner on the front, which I can see. And I thought 9.6. 9.6 would be a fair grade for this. So I sent it to CGC, expecting 9.6. And based off history so far, I think we know we're going to get a 9.6. So, yeah, and the grader notes are spine stress lines, which they were there, but they were light. And they were not that divoted. I've either had regression or there's been an issue with some of the books in this submission, I think. Yeah, a bit frustrating. You can just see them, maybe you can see them. A great book at a 9.6. It was the grade I was expecting. And if it wasn't for the X-Men and the Web of Spider-Man specifically, which had notable issues that weren't logged, I'd assume it was me. So, Wolverine number 88, Deluxe Edition. This is the first battle of Wolverine and Deadpool, quite a famous book. Great cover as well, obviously. And yeah, got this one, paid good money for it. Again, trusted seller. Paid $118. Arrived, I thought it looked perfect. It had, it's got an insert inside the book, and if the insert's not there, you'll get a green label. And I pressed it, and I was hoping that the indentation from the insert wouldn't count against it. But I was expecting 9.8. I think this book presented as well as it possibly could. So I think it's the most valuable book in this submission that I was expecting to get back. Yep. So instead of CGC expecting 9.8, and received a 9.8. So let's finish strong here. It's a beautiful copy. Beautiful copy. Yep. Lovely. And the black cover, it just makes it tough. So it was great to get it in good condition and in the highest grade that is likely to be given randomly. So Batman the Killing Joke is the last book in the submission. If you've seen some of my previous videos, you'll understand my frustration with cardstock covers. I've had issues, particularly with Venom Lethal Protector, a lot of those, full glossy. This is cardstock and square bound. So I received this, and it was the last, I think it's the last cardstock book I have yeah, in my backlog. It cost me $68 from another seller who is great. And it arrived and it looked good. And I think this was, if this one didn't come back as a 9.8, I was just going to give up on cardstock. It was clean. It had a bit of gunk on the spine, which just wiped off. I just wiped it lightly, get rid of any fingerprints, any semblance of fingerprints. And I thought it was going to come back a 9.8. If this one didn't come back as a 9.8, nothing's going to come back as 9.8. And this was probably not the submission to risk that on. Again, I don't know who the grade is going to be on the other side when I send it in. So yeah, expected 9.8. And received a 9.8. So finishing strongly there. So great to get a 9.8. And it looks great on the back as well. You can see it just got a bit of fluff there. Yeah. It was beautiful, and thank God for that. I wouldn't say that the monkey's off my back, as the saying goes, but definitely a bit more reassured now that it is possible for me. So if you watched this far, thank you, and excuse my frustration. It's been a frustrating submission to get back, and specifically because I was expecting in the vicinity of 8 to 9, maybe even 10, 9.8s, and I got 4. No, I got 5. No, it's not right. That's my expectations. I'm looking at the wrong column. I got 3. I was right. The last 2, which were valuable, which is great, and the Spider-Man number 6 newsstand edition. And yeah, it's disappointing. And sure, sometimes I stuff up, but to have books like the X-Men 142 with a scuff on the cover, and the Web of Spider-Man with those clear scratches on the back, just be looked at and just given a 9.6, just, yep, it's a 9.6. That's what it feels like. Yeah, so it's been my first, what I'd call a slightly negative experience with CGC. Yeah, the next submission's a little small one, and I've got a couple of others already in the pipeline. So hopefully we don't get that person again. Onward and upward. Thanks for watching.